tonight, we're going to hear from Beth Reynolds, a member of BSURJ, that's Boulder Showing Up for Racial Justice. After that, we'll open it up for Q&A. Beth has to leave at 7, but I will stick around until 7:30 if you have other questions, and I will turn it over to Beth.
All right, so I don't know, there might be people who know about SURJ, Showing Up for Racial Justice, but I'm here to just kind of give a little intro of both National SURJ and our small mighty team in Boulder. There is also a Denver team for SURJ, and I'm kind of passing the baton over to Tiffany for them to connect with them, and maybe they can have them show up to give a little bit more information about the things that they do, because I know a little bit less about it. But SURJ was created, Showing Up for Racial Justice was created in the South around 2009, following President Obama coming in, when there was a lot of like racist backlash that came in through the US. And so organizers were coming together to specifically organize with white people to support and provide accountability, or not provide, excuse me, to get accountability with other folks or BIPOC or people of color who are experiencing this. And so it has kind of continued and it has grown. It's huge. If you've seen, I'm listening, Tiffany, to some of the things that y'all are doing here, and it's very connected and related. A lot of the organizing work is around like bringing people together, learning how to organize, building the skills, creating new groups, and then also doing trainings and learning about things that are going on in our country. So at least for us, for myself and other white folks, can like understand history and be able to apply that into anti-racism work. The work within Boulder SURJ is much smaller. As I said, we're a small but mighty team. I think there are 4 of us now in the core team. We're kind of going through some transition right now and restructuring. So it's actually a really lovely time to get involved if you're in the Boulder County area, because you can play a part in the direction and help us build and get other white folks involved. Let's see. So the biggest thing, well, let me back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. Boulder SURJ was created, I believe, around like 2014. And then it kind of died out a bit. And then post George Floyd, there was, in 2020, there was a lot of like uprising and a lot of people organizing again. And then Boulder SURJ kind of became active again. And we seem to be going through a lot of this fluctuation, which I think is just part of it, part of this work. And I think the attention also changes to different things depending on what's going on in the world. So a lot of attention recently has been around like immigration, and attention on what's happening in Palestine. Also, obviously, there was the attack that happened in Boulder. And so finding this space to be both supportive of what's happening in the world and also not supporting anti-Semitism. So like having hard conversations and figuring out how to support people in our community when these things are happening. The biggest kind of like organizing, I guess we would say, that Boulder SURJ has been involved in is the Boulder Justice Film Series. You may have seen flyers showing up around this. They happen about once a month. It's a pretty big feat, to be honest, for such a small group. One of our members it was her baby, and she took it and ran with it. The upcoming event, let me just pull up the flyer so I don't misspeak here. The upcoming event is this Sunday, and it is at the Dairy Center in Boulder. It's specifically about Palestine, where they're showing the film No Other Land, and just having conversation. We usually have people either from the film, like directors, or we have people of color specifically invested in what the film is about, or people who are just in the community who are doing some of this organizing work to facilitate conversation. So we'll show a film, and then whoever's in the audience gets to engage with those facilitators to have a discussion around whatever the topic is. And this upcoming one just happens to be about Palestine. The event is is Sunday at 2:30 p.m. There's a suggested donation of $10. They usually last about 3 hours, so just like be aware. It is a long. It's a commitment. You're showing up to watch a film, and then you're showing up to like engage in discussion. Obviously, we know people have lives, so if you're only able to show up to the film, you're welcome to, step out. There will be refreshments and things like that, and you have to leave. I haven't yet seen the film myself, actually, but we know it won some awards, so I'm thinking that it'll be a really great turnout, I hope. So that's just kind of like a summary of one of the specific things that Boulder SURJ is involved in, but there's other pieces that go into that. So there's a newsletter that goes out once a month that we're a part of, or that we facilitate and send out, and there's probably about 1,000 people on that listserv, so the information is getting out to lots of people. The other thing, we have an upcoming book club that's going to be starting. I think we're going to be reading Emergent Strategy, just to be talking about like community justice and like how do we organize and how do we have hard conversations. And then, to be honest, because we're small, we can't do a ton more than that. So that's why we're here, and we'd love to like have other people join us. I am part of like the recruitment team. Out of the 4 of us, it's mostly me and one other person, which means we have a Google form where people can fill out and express interest. So I thought I could also share it here. The way that this is usually done is not sent out to so many people at once. So if we get lots of responses, you will see that we either will have to organize and coordinate with groups of you to meet together, or it will be spread out. So like, have some patience if we don't get back to you right away. There usually is some specific times on the Google form for it's saying like, this is when I'm available to do like a meet and greet, because we want to filter some. We want people to be involved. A huge value of SURJ, Showing Up for Racial Justice, is calling white people in, rather than calling them out. And we know that infiltration happens, and we're wanting to make sure that there is like integrity behind the work that we're doing, and that people know what they're coming into, what the expectations are, and what their capacity is. So we do like to do those meet and greets. So I share that because there are limited numbers of times that will be on that Google form, and there's an option for other. So if none of those times there work for you, feel free to just put like some days and times into the other spot, and we'll do our best to like reach back out to you. I'm trying to think. I'm sure I missed plenty of stuff because talking to large groups can make me anxious. But that's why we have question and answer, and hopefully I'll get to those things. I don't know where you are, Tiffany. I think I lost you.
Oh, no, I'm here.
Okay. Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Oh, did you want to put that form in the chat that you were mentioning?
Yes, I will do that. I'm going to work on that.
Can I do it virtually? Is there a virtual thing I can do?
It's a good question. So one of the meetings that we have is a general meeting, which happens once a month. It's on the last Monday of every month at 6 p.m. And that is usually always virtual. It's usually an hour, hour and a half. We try to be flexible with time because we know people's agendas. That meeting could be good for you to pop into. We would prefer that you fill out the form first, just so we can do a little bit of check-in with you beforehand. Just the like knowing who people are when you're coming in. Even if that means we do the meet and greets via Zoom, we can do that as well. And then those meetings, you would be getting updates about Boulder SURJ, the specific happenings, the films that are coming up. And also we do some like processing work in that. So, maybe there's a challenge that is coming up for someone, or an event that took place they were organizing, and they were finding that you know, there was a conflict, like, how do you deal with this, especially because we're so focused on calling in and working with white people. It is a space for that. I also want to give the caveat that it is not limited to white people. So when the organizing started, there were plenty of folks that were people of color or from other minorities and coming through to be a part of it. But really, we're also wanting to be mindful of safety and people of color not being in a place necessarily where like white people are throwing all their shit, excuse my language, but onto them. And so wanting to respect those boundaries and those pieces. So it's not like a limitation of in any way. And the intention of that is so that when we're going out into the community and we're doing organizing, that stuff is hopefully attempting to be navigated and managed before we're like being held accountable with the work that we're doing for people of color. Hope that's making sense. And yes, I got distracted. I'm going to send the link for the form. One moment.
After that, can you elaborate a little bit on what like a typical SURJ meeting is, or like what you would do with new people as they come in?
Yes, absolutely. Give me 1 second here.
And if anyone else has a question for Beth, you can hit the raise hand button down at the bottom of your screen.
Okay, here we go. Chat. Okay. If someone could confirm, click on that link for me and make sure you're getting to the form that I was describing. Give me a thumbs up.
Boulder SURJ registration form.
Yes, it works. Okay, great. And then I'm also going to share the flyer for the event in the
Great.
chat.
That was going to be the other thing I was going to ask you for.
Cool. Great. I had that one ready. I did not have my form ready. I apologize. Okay, so the typical structure of a Boulder SURJ meeting. So as I mentioned, we have a small core, and core is like meeting separately. We're like working on bringing people in, such as showing up to meetings like this, or like organizing events. More recently, connecting with local organizers who are needing like direct support. Whereas a general SURJ meeting, honestly, is very open, and it really depends. The biggest structure that we have there is we have a check-in where people that are showing up are doing like a, hey, how are you showing up today? And then post that is like going through the different pieces of the work that we're doing. So it would be like, okay, here, the newsletter is coming up. This is the next month. This is what we're thinking about putting in the newsletter. Does anyone have any specific events or spotlights or things that they're wanting to talk about or share here? The other one, again, is the film series. If anyone has connections, for example, like we do have an actual team that works on that I'm not a part of right now. And I think there's maybe 3 of them. 3 or 4, and some of those are not in core. And they are like deciding on venues and picking films and identifying people who are facilitating the conversations at the films, things like that. And we might be talking about what the upcoming film is. Sometimes, if appropriate, we're getting feedback. Something that has been sticking with me this month after doing a direct action training with Denver SURJ was around, like, if we're not making mistakes, we're not taking enough risks. And so that that just really resonates. And especially as a group of white folks, we're going to be making mistakes. And sometimes we're getting feedback about how the films are going or the conversations that we're having. And we're processing that feedback. So that could be something that we're doing in a meeting. And then if there isn't a lot of other updates, then we're sometimes shifting to either more of like a didactic or like an educational piece. So for example, in one of the last meetings, we didn't fully get to it, but I'm a big fan of Resma Menicum, and he has a really great free training online. And to just do a little review of some of his little series and then prompt some conversation about like, what does that look like? What does lack of stamina in white people look like? How does that feel? How does that show up? And I think we ended up pulling in one of his like meditations from his book and like walking through that together and then doing some reflection. So honestly, it's a great question, but it's kind of unstructured apart from like the updates about SURJ. There's both a benefit to that of like being a smaller group and being able to like go with the flow. And then some people don't like that at all because they want a lot of structure. So part of that's part of the restructuring of being small and figuring out like what is the trajectory of BSURJ right now. I'm realizing as I'm talking, I've used the word accountability a few times, and I want to clarify that SURJ, like national SURJ, another really big like foundation or way that SURJ works is working with what we call accountability partners. And usually these are people in the community who are people of color, who are already doing the work. And we're kind of partnering with them of like, how can we like show up and volunteer at your event? Or how can we raise money for you? Or we're throwing this new film series, or we're working on this, like what feedback do you have about the land acknowledgements that we use, or how to structure these events, and who the audience is and things like that. So that is a big piece of SURJ. And I think I'm seeing some questions maybe in the chat.
Yeah, I flagged a few of them
Okay.
so I could kind of get to them in
Oh,
order.
perfect. Okay.
Someone asked if there's a chapter in Texas. How would people go about finding their local chapters?
Great question. I can actually get you that. So I'm going to put this link in the chat. And this is the National SURJ site, and they have a specific page where you can search for the chapters in your area. And if you can't find one, which I'd be really surprised if you couldn't, at least virtually, like they are everywhere. They truly are. What's really great about the meetings that they have, so like National SURJ, not BSURJ, National SURJ, I think it's every Wednesday they have like an action hour. So you can log in. If you're newer, they do like a mini training, and then they have some specific action that you're kind of all doing together. So one that I showed up to was connected with the ACLU, and writing a letter to someone in government. So it's like, I think SURJ does a lot of like brokering, where it's like there's already people and organizations doing work, and how do we support and connect white people to engage in this, calling them in and doing it.
And Heather asked, can we share both the form and the flyer with people who are sympathetic to the aim of this meeting?
Can you say that question one more time?
Sure. She's asking if it's okay if we share the form that you posted to get involved with BSURJ and also the flyer for the event on Sunday.
Yes, please. Thank you for saying that again. The only thing I will say there is with BSURJ, because we're so small, and I mentioned like the capacity is lower, the priority will probably go to folks who are within Boulder, because we can't reach so many. And I encourage folks who are not in Boulder area to find the chapter that correlates with your area on that link that I just sent, and check in with them and see if they have any specific registration or ways to engage with them. And again, patience with our responses, because I know there will be so many, which is exciting. But
You guys will grow. It'll be great.
yes.
So someone whose name just says iPhone asked, how do
Okay.
you approach the criticism of this being paternalistic? I'm not sure. Yeah.
Can that person say more?
iPhone, can you elaborate? Feel free to come off of mute and ask your question.
There we go. Yeah, it just sounds like if it's white people doing things for Black people, that sounds like a paternalistic approach, as in, I know what you need.
Oh, I see. Okay. So it's a great question. And this might also be me not explaining this well. Because if I'm hearing you right, it's like us as white people showing up to like help or support or save kind of thing. And I think the intention is really actually the opposite of that. Because of this accountability piece, that it feels more of and this like totally challenged me here, and I'm like happy to bring it back to the team and have dialogue about it. But my experience with it hasn't been like, hey, let's help. Because actually, and this is again, there's so many things I miss, but there's specifically a value within SURJ around like, we are here, we are partnering, we want to do this work, and we also have to make decisions. Like, this is where that mistake piece comes in of like, we have to not rely on people of color to tell us what to do all of the time. There might be times where we have to pass the mic, and it's like, this is not for us, this is where for someone else to have and like have their voice. And there might be also times where we have to step in and say, okay, we might make a mistake here, but we're going to make the call because we need to take action, and then we can follow up. So I don't know if that answers your question. I can see how maybe what the things I was saying could sound that way, but my experience has not been that way. And I think SURJ has intentionally set it up to not take that approach.
Thank you.
I've seen a lot of SURJ events on Mobilize. Do you know if there is a link that just shows you like upcoming SURJ meetings on Mobilize?
Yes, I think that is such a good question. So let's see if I can find it. I'm gonna send this.
Oh, I found it too. Do you have it?
Yep.
There
Yep.
we go.
So this should list all of them. They had a series at the beginning of the year. And of course, as I'm on the spot, I'm not going to tell you, I don't even know what the name of it was, but it was specifically like an 8-week series that was prepping people involved in SURJ to prepare for the first 100 days of Trump's presidency. So a lot of it is like related to what's happening with the administration and authoritarianism and how to fight back, and again, calling people in. So a huge piece of that series was around like checking in with yourself, learning like what's important to you, and then how do you use your own stories and your own values to call and connect with other white people to bring them into this movement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Beth? All right. Well, feel free to stick around until you have to leave at 7. But I definitely really am very happy that you were here today, especially with the event honoring John Lewis coming up. We had
absolutely.
some really kind of disturbing feedback from one of our members who said when she posted the John Lewis event, I don't know if it was to her Facebook group or where, people came back at her with, why can't we focus on the issues? Trump is the problem. And someone even said, like, I don't even know who he is. And so I think we have a lot of work to do.
Mhm, mhm. And I think that's like, it's such a good point around, especially for white people, but all people, is like, there's, and you mentioned this to me, Tiffany, and I've actually been sitting with it for a while because my background, I live in Colorado, obviously I'm in Boulder, but I'm from rural northern Michigan, and my education sucked, like truly sucked. And there is so much historical information that I did not get, that I'm like constantly having to like make up for. And it's on me now, right? I have the responsibility to, like, that's part of the work of learning and knowing history. And SURJ, I think the intention and the values behind it finds this balance between, again, this calling in versus calling out. Like, we're not here to shame people who don't know, and we're also here to like keep people accountable and say, this is things we need to learn. If you don't know it, like, how do you get the information to learn it? And then simultaneously, like, not just is it the content and the history, it's like what's happening in your body, and like how do you hold some of this, how do you hold the trauma, how do you hold the racism, how do you hold the things that get spewed out into the world that hurt people? Like, that's the work too. Yeah.
Thank you. Lindy, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Beth, I was just commenting that it sounds like that the focus is on educating ourselves as white people about the issues and traumas and possible actions we can take that would make a difference as far as racial injustice in the world. But when I hear racial justice, I do think kind of the justice system and how racist that is. And the in particular, is that anything that's discussed in SURJ, or a particular SURJ branch, if you will,
Yeah,
focusing
that's a really good
specifically on?
question. What the first thing that came to mind, not within BSURJ, because like just owning that we're small and we don't get to all the things, but there was a participant that joined us briefly that ended up deciding it was better for her to do some of the work just like in her own community on her own. But she was, it wasn't specifically focused, well, it was kind of focused on racism, but specifically within the court system and doing the program, like Court Watchers, essentially, where you go in, you're volunteering your time to just like take notes of like how certain judges are making like calls about certain kinds of cases. This person had lived, I think, actually previously in Texas and was part of a court watch program. And so they were like, oh, I would really love to do this here. And I had not heard of it before, but that's the closest I would say that isn't specifically like SURJ related, but we've had conversations of like, how do we actively get involved in like knowing what judges are making certain calls and who might, like, it might be good to get some, like, who has a certain case to see this judge. What's tricky is, I think, so, you know, immigration is a big thing that's being talked about right now. And I think most of the, if not all, probably all the immigration cases are specifically in the courthouse in Denver. And so this person was maybe in like Broomfield, and so it wasn't exactly relevant, but in the sense of like, you might even know who is like anti-LGBTQ or leans a certain way, and how there could be discriminatory like decisions based on someone's identity. And so that can be some really good work, but I haven't specifically seen SURJ like jumping into that, apart from like government and politics stuff of like who's getting in to like be voted into positions. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah. I think I saw that someone asked about the book. So I mentioned Emergent Strategy. It's by Adrienne Marie Brown. That's the book that we're going to be reading. And I don't know that I have the flyer. Let's see if I can find it. If I don't, whenever I pause talking, I'll find it and then put it in the chat. I think it's hiding somewhere. Out of curiosity, how many people are in Boulder? Like, if you want to just put some like thumbs up or arms up or hands up, I'm just a little curious. Or emojis up. I see one hand, 2, 3, 4, 4. Okay, so at least 4 or 5. Oh, yep, I see 5. Okay, cool. Okay, awesome. Near Boulder, yep. And also Boulder SURJ is Boulder County. So we have Longmont folks and I'm in Lafayette. We have Boulder proper folks. So it's not just Boulder proper.
Jasmine, you had a question? Jasmine, you're on mute.
I wonder if Jasmine was raising their hand when I asked about Boulder, but I'm
Oh,
not sure.
okay.
Or maybe not. I'm not sure. Okay, I don't see any Boulder SURJ specific questions. Thank you so much for having me. I will find yes, that is the book. Thank you for those who are sharing it. I will see if I can find the flyer and share it in there. And also, I think it's on that form, but if you are interested in the newsletter, but not like engaging in BSURJ, you're welcome to mark that and just leave the other things blank and we can get you into the newsletter. I know lots of us are volunteering our time and another group can be a lot of commitment, so no pressure. Thank you all.